פרק עשירי, משנה ב'. כבר למדנו בתחילת מסכתנו, we already learned in the beginning of this tractate, אין המוציא מרשות לרשות חייב, that if you take out from one domain to another domain, the only way you're going to be obligated, אלא אם כן עקר החפץ מרשות היחיד וניחו ברשות הרבים. You need two things. You need to take the object from the private domain, you need to take it, and you need to put it. If you only did half, asur. Patur, you don't have to bring the sacrifice, but you're not allowed to do it. Okay. או להפך, or the opposite. שעשה את עקירת החפץ מרשות הרבים, that you took the object from the public domain, ואת הנחתו ברשות יחיד, and you placed it on the private domain. אבל העוקר חפץ מרשות היחיד, but if you take an object from the private domain, או מרשות הרבים, or you take an object from the public domain, ומניחו בכרמלית, and he places it in a carmelit. Let's make it easy. I'll give you an example of a carmelit. You know, carmelit, it says there's certain measurements, right? It has to be 3 tfachim, and it has to have an area of 10 tfachim. I don't remember exactly the area. It has to be wide, right? So let's say you have a step right next to your door, right? So it's 3 tfachim, the step, but it doesn't have the right area to be a reshut. It has less than the area. So what do you call that? This is not reshut harabim, and it's not reshut yechid. It's called the what? It's called the carmelit. So now we're going to take an object from the house to the carmelit, or from the public domain to the carmelit. And we already know what the law is. You're not supposed to, but the patur. There's no obligation to bring a sacrifice. Because carmelit. Okay? וכן, העוקר חפץ מקרמלית, and also the one who takes this object from this step that I just described, it doesn't have the right measurements, ומניחו ברשות היחיד או ברשות הרבים. So you take the object and either you put it in the house or you take it and put it out of the house, in the public domain. הרי הוא פטור ממיתה ומחטאת. So that person is not obligated death, if he does it on purpose with a warning, or sin offering if he did it by mistake. שאין זה איסור מלאכה של תורה. Because this is not what the Torah prohibited. אלא איסור מדברי סופרים. It's only prohibition from the words of the rabbis. In other words, the Torah only prohibited 100% private domain and 100% public domain transfer over. If you put it in in-between state, the Torah says, doesn't talk about it. Only the rabbi says you're not allowed to do that. משנתנו בא ללמד, our Mishnah comes to teach, שאם בין רשות היחיד ובין רשות הרבים יש כרמלית, if between the private domain and the public domain there is a carmelit, המוציא חפץ מרשות היחיד לרשות הרבים, if you take an object from the private domain to the public domain, או המכניס מרשות הרבים לרשות היחיד, or you take from the public domain to the private domain, כלומר שמעבירו דרך הכרמלית, you walk with the object through the carmelit, אינו חייב, you're not obligated, אלא אם לא הניחו בינתיים בכרמלית. As long as you didn't place it in the carmelit. אבל אם הניחו בינתיים בכרמלית, but if you placed it in the carmelit, וחזר והוציאו משם לרשות הרבים, או הכניסו לרשות היחיד, and then you took it again from there, and you placed it in the public domain or the private domain, then you are patur. We're going to explain this when we read it through. כן בא המשנה ללמד, also the Mishnah comes to teach, שאפילו המוציא קופה מלאה פירות, that even if you take out a basket full of fruits, אם לא הוציא את כולה בבת אחת מרשות אחת לרשות אחרת, if you didn't take the whole thing at one time from one domain to another domain, אינו חייב עליה כפי שיבואר. You're not obligated, like it's going to be explained. Okay, so let's see what's the case. You ready? A little bit complicated. Hamotzi ochlin. Somebody takes out food. Doesn't have to be food, can be anything. Somebody takes out food. Beshabbat mibeito. You take it out on Shabbat from your house. Venatnan hala askupa. And he put them on the step in front of the house. The step is what? Carmelit. Venichan ala miftan shelifnei habayit. He put it on the step in front of the house. Umevu'ar b'Gemara, and it explains in the Gemara, שמדובר כאן באסקופה שהיא כרמלית. We're talking about this step is a כרמלית. כגון, it says, how do you get a כרמלית? ששטחה הוא 4 על 4 טפחים, that it has an area of 4 on 4, וגובהה מ3 עד 9 טפחים. And the height is from 3 to 9. It's not 10. It's a step, ממש a step. 4, it has the measurement of 4 on 4. If it's less than 3, then it's considered to be outside. If it's more than 9, then it's considered to be a reshut, b'fnei atzma. But over here, it's in between 3 and 9. So that's why it's a Carmelit. And this is what happens. Ben shechazar vehotzian, whether you took them out and whether you returned and took them out, hu atzmo lereshut harabim, he himself to the public domain, ben sheotzian acher me'askupa lereshut harabim, whether another person took them out from the step to reshut harabim, patur, he is not obligated from chatat, from a sin offering, but he's not allowed to do it. So let's discuss. That's right. But look what happens. You take the basket, right, in your hand from your house, and you walk outside to the public domain, right? You step on the step, and then you continue, you walk to the public domain, you place it in the public domain. Are you obligated? Mm-hmm. You are, right? Over here, this is what you did. You walked outside, you put the basket on the step, because you wanted to lock the door. Right? And then you picked up the basket again, and then you walked to the public domain, and then you put it down. Are you obligated now?
Yeah.
Still, that's exactly the case, and it says you're not obligated. You don't have to bring a sin offering. Why? Oh, because you did not take it out from the private domain straight to the public domain. You took it from the private domain and you put it in Carmelit. Do you have to bring a sin offering for that? No. And then you took it from the Carmelit and put it on the public domain. So therefore, because there's it's not a loophole, you're not allowed to do it. You're still not allowed to do it. It's not a loophole. But if you did it by mistake, and you think to yourself, you need to bring a sacrifice, the Kohen and the Bet HaMikdash says, no, you can't bring a sacrifice for that. It's not a sin. You only can bring a sacrifice for a sin. This is not a sin. You're not allowed to bring a sacrifice. You can give me charity if you want. He says you can give a bull, but it's not a sin offering. I'm going to sprinkle it. Sin offering, I'm going to sprinkle the blood in a specific place. You didn't sin. I cannot sprinkle that blood over there. That's what the Kohen is going to tell you. In other words, the Torah says one shot you have to bring it from the private to the public. Over here you placed it down, so you did it in 2 shots, and there's none of these are obligated from the Torah, therefore you don't have to bring. Okay. Mipnei, and it says, Shelo asa melachto bevat achat. He didn't do the entire job at one time. What does it mean? Shelo asa kira mereshut hayachid. He did not do the uprooting from the private domain, ve'anacha bereshut harabim, and placing in the public domain bevat achat at one time. Ela betchila hotzit ha'ochlim mebito lekarmelit. At the beginning, he took it out to the Carmelit. Ve'nicham sham. The important part is he put it down there. Ve'arei hu patur al melacha zo. And he's not obligated. Doesn't have to bring a sin offering on this kind of job. Shehotzim mereshut hayachid lekarmelit, because he took it out from the private domain to the Carmelit. Eina asura ela midivrei sofrim. This is only prohibited by the rabbis. ואחר כך הוציא את האוכלים מקרמלית לרשות הרבים. And then the second time, he took the food from the Carmelit, from the step to the public domain. שאף הוצאה זו אינה אסורה בדברי ישראל. And even this is only prohibited by the rabbis, not by the Torah. So therefore, you cannot bring a sin offering. And therefore, והוא פטור עליה, he is not he's patur on it, he's not obligated on this, that doesn't mean he's allowed to do it. Like we said, patur aval asur. Right? Kupa, finish that part. Next part. Let's see, this one is also an interesting one. Kupa, shehi melea perot. You've got a basket full of fruits. Ve'otzi'a mibeito b'Shabbat. And he took it out from his house on Shabbat. Ve'natna ala askupa chitzona. And he put it on the step, the outside step. על הדרגה שלפני הבית, לצד רשות הרבים. On the step that in front of the house, where it's to the public domain. וכגון. And this step now is not like the same step as before. The step from before was what? A Carmelit. This step now is less than 3 tfachim. And if it's less than 3 tfachim, then what do we consider it? Public domain. It has to be at least 3 tfachim to become a Carmelit. It has to be 10 tfachim to become Rishut HaYachid. Between 3 and 9, it's Carmelit. This step is Rishut HaRabim. So if you put it on the step, what did you do?
You don't.
On this step, you took it out to Rishut HaRabim now. This is, and then you need to bring a what? A sin offering for this one. Okay? Shedina kereshut harabim gmura. In other words, you don't even to use the example of a step. You just put it outside on the public domain. Okay? In that case. But here comes the problem. You know the basket? You didn't take the whole basket and you put it outside. What did you do? You've got like 80% of the basket is outside and 20% of the basket is still inside. The question is, did you take the object out?
Not all the way, no.
So you're saying you're only going to be obligated when you take 100%. Maybe when you take 50%. Why did you decide 100%? You put 80% outside already. You're saying you're not going to be obligated until you put the whole basket outside. Let's see. So it says, אף על פי שרוב הפירות שבקופה מבחוץ, even though that the majority of the fruits that in the basket are outside, היינו ברשות הרבים, in the public domain, ומעטם בפנים, and only a little bit are inside. It's like Moshe said, patur. You don't have to, you are patur michatat. Of course, you're not allowed to do that. But you're patur michatat. You can't bring a sin offering. עד שיוציא את כל הקופה, until you take out the entire basket. כלומר, which means, שאינו חייב, אלא אם כן, הוציא בבת אחת את כל הקופה לרשות הרבים. The only way you're going to be obligated if you take the whole basket into the public domain. כוונת הסייפה להשמיענו, over here in the end of the Mishnah it wants to teach us, שאין צריך לומר בחפץ אחד שלם. So it says, of course, if you take a cucumber, you need to take the whole cucumber out. Or you take a fruit, you need to take the whole fruit out. That's obvious. But it tells you, even if it's in a basket, and the basket has many fruits, let's see, שאינו חייב על הוצאתו, אלא אם כן הוציאה את כולה בבת אחת, אלא אפילו בקופה מלאת פירות. We're talking about even a basket that is full of fruits, and now we have a problem. Even though the basket is a little bit inside, but some fruits that are in the basket are completely outside. We're still not going to make you obligated. Because it's going to be one basket. We're going to look at the basket, not at the fruit. אף על פי כשניחה לאסקופה החיצונה, even though when you put it on the outside step, רוב הפירות היו כבר ברשות הרבים. The majority of the fruits were already in the public domain. אינו חייב, אלא אם כן נוציא את כל הקופה בבת אחת לרשות הרבים. He's only obligated, in other words, the basket puts it one object, makes it into one object. I don't care if I have 100 peanuts inside, whatever it is. שהקופה עושה את כל מה שבתוכה כחפץ אחד. This basket makes the whole thing like one object. אגד כלי שמי אגד. This is what the Gemara says, this is the logic, that when a vessel takes all the things inside it and makes it into one. So every time you put something in a basket or in a cup or in something, because otherwise you can say that the water over here, the one drop, it says no, the cup is the whole cup. It's not one drop. Same thing with fruits. It becomes one basket. ואילו הוציאה לאחר שהניחה על האסקופה, פטור, שהרי בינתיים הייתה הנחה. And now comes the trick again. Here's the trick. You took the basket, you put it halfway through, right? Or 80% through. Are you obligated? You need to bring a sacrifice? No. Now you went outside and you took it and you put it in the public domain. What? But where did you take it from?
Where? From where?
Yeah. Where was it?
איפה שזה היה...
Where was it? רשות היחיד או רשות הרבים?
האחוז הגבוה איפה היה?
So, now you go by the percent. Before you said, I don't care, it's not outside. It's also inside.
זה כבר שלב שני בגלל זה אולי.
Do you understand how you're changing your mind now? If you're saying it's outside, so in other words, you put it in a place where it's not inside and not outside. And now you're taking it from a place where it's not inside and not outside. So therefore, you're patur. So you can take it from your house, put it halfway through, and then take it from halfway through, put it in the public domain, and then you still patur. You want to bring a sacrifice, you want to go to the temple, and you say to the Kohen, I want to bring a sacrifice. The Kohen asks you, what did you do? Explain to me exactly what you did. You tell me what you said, you can't bring a sacrifice for that. It's not a sin offering. You can bring, if you want, another effort, but you can't bring a sin offering. This is only for bring it from the rabbis. Okay? ויש דעה בגמרא, there's also an opinion in the Gemara, שאגד כלי אין שמו אגד. The Gemara looks like it has two opinions. One says that the basket puts what? Everything together. The other opinion says, if there are fruits inside and you took some of the fruit outside, the vessel does not put it together. In other words, you'll be obligated because of the fruit that went into the public domain. Let's see. כלומר, which means שאין הקופה עושה את כל מה שבתוכה כחפץ אחד, that the basket does not make everything into one object, ומכאן לא שנו אלא בקופה מלאה קישואין ודילויים. So therefore, when the Gemara was talking about the basket over here, you know what kind of basket he was talking about? A basket that had cucumbers going this way. Long cucumbers. That's what he was talking about. But if you have like strawberries inside, and some of the strawberries are outside,
Different case.
no, there's a different of opinions. Yeah, it's a different case. Yeah, in that case you're going to be obligated. So in other words, some read our Mishnah in the Gemara. Some say the Mishnah is talking about only long cucumbers, because if you take strawberries out, you're going to be in trouble because some of the strawberries are going to be outside. And some says no, even strawberries you're allowed to do it because it's only one. Two opinions in the Gemara for this Mishnah, how to read it. Okay? שהם ממלאים באורכם את קופה. Some say the basket we're talking about does not put it together. So how come it says you patu? Because it says in this basket we're talking about you have cucumbers this way, and then not all the cucumber is outside. ונמצא שעדיין חלק מהם נמצא בפנים. And we found that according to that opinion, a little bit of the cucumber is still inside. אבל אם הייתה מלאה חרדל, but if it was full of חרדל, the yellow stuff, mustard seeds, הואיל והרבה מהחרדל נמצא כבר בחוץ, since a lot of the mustard seeds are already outside, הרי הוא חייב, then he is obligated, because the basket does not put it into one. וכן מפרש הרב מברטנורה, and this is the way the Bartenura explains it. The Bartenura says we're only talking about a basket of cucumbers. That's what we're talking about. Berama Rambam sover kedea shevanu. But the Rambam says no. Even strawberries, even mustard, because the basket makes it into one. That's what the Rambam says. Different than the Bartenura. She'eged kli shmo eged. Because he says the basket makes it all one. Vafilu melea chardal patur. Even if it's full of chardal, it is, the Rambam says, you are not obligated. You don't have to be, you're not allowed to do it, but you're not obligated.